Millions of Iranians are still without internet after a countrywide blackout because of the recent deadly protests. Joining us now this morning, one of the pioneers of Persian rap, Erfan Paydar, who is fighting for those trying to get their voices heard. Erfan, good morning and good to have you here.
Good morning, Shelly, and thank you for talking about such an important topic and using your platform.
Just yesterday, President Trump has said again that he was told the executions have stopped in Iran. But just today, a top regime prosecutor said that that statement is completely false and there's no truth to it. And we know that the executions have continued. There were some just yesterday. What do you want the community to know about this regime in Iran?
I think it's really important for everyone to know how brutal they are and how they deal with their own people. The number of them killed people by the regime during the protests has risen to at least 43,000 right now. Just imagine in one weekend. Sometimes, like what happened in Gaza over 2 to 3 years, they say 70, 80,000 people got killed. And only in one weekend, they killed at least 43,000. And the numbers are coming up. So it's going to be much more than that. And about the executions, that's absolutely false. They're not going to stop killing people. They want to make a point of it. That's the only way this regime stays in power, is just by brutality and force. And so they're not going to basically let anybody go.
The president said, President Trump, help is on the way, recently said that, and he did announce that an armada is now nearing the area. What do the Iranian people want? Do they want the U.S. to get involved?
Absolutely. And I know it might sound strange to a lot of people who are not Iranian, that why would they want a foreign country to attack them? But everybody that I've talked to, it's been very difficult to talk to people in Iran because of the digital blackout. But through Starlink, and some people get connected for brief periods, maybe 20, 30 seconds at a time, and I get messages. That's what everybody's doing, because millions of people went to the streets and they were asking for regime change, and they gave it their all. Usually they say about 3.5% of the population, if they go out, that's a revolution. We had more than that go out, but they were so brutal. They just started using military weapons on people, just shooting everybody. And so the people are empty handed, and they're like, we're ready to do this. We want this, but we just can't do it on our own. So everybody who I talk to, whether inside Iran or outside of Iran, they're like, when is Trump coming? You know, we went out, he said we're gonna get help. So we expected to get help. Is it happening? So they're just out there waiting for it to happen.
Erva, you're a very well-known rapper in the Persian community, and you've been very involved over the years with all the protests and demonstrations for women like freedom that we've seen. And you've used your voice very much so to be the voice of the people in Iran. What do you want to see happen in the coming days?
I would like to see the people get some help, but I feel like because the protests aren't out, people are just waiting. They're scared right now because they know if they go out, they're just going to get killed. So I would like to see the United States give some help, as President Trump promised. And it seems like things are going in that direction. And I think if the people get some help and they get some confidence back, they will finish this job themselves. They've wanted this. This is not a one-off uprising. We've had multiple, and every time the regime gets more brutal, but we see bigger crowds. And this time, these were the most massive protests the country has ever seen, and they were in every province. Previous times, sometimes they were only in larger cities, but right now we see all over the country, people were out and they were all asking for the same thing. They want regime change, they want the Islamic Republic gone, and they want it gone now, immediately.
We talk about these demonstrations. You're saying how they're different and how they have changed over the years. What started just a few weeks ago as an outcry to the failing economy has turned into a complete call for a regime change.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the economy is what sparked it. But the people, the problem that people have with this government is not just the economy, it's the human rights. You're not allowed to do anything. And just they use uh, like right now, they said a lot of people try to blame it on the sanctions. But the issue is they still use the money to fund militias and to steal money themselves and take money out of the country. And instead of using the money to help the people or help the economy and boost things, and so maybe the economy and the dollar price kind of sparked everything, but it's not a one-off thing, and we've had multiple ones over the years, and people just want them gone, and they're just so angry, especially now after the number of people they've killed, and people are just so angry, but at the same time they feel helpless. So a regime change is what absolutely the vast majority of the country
Yeah,
wants.
you mentioned the 40,000, which has yet to be confirmed, but those are the unconfirmed numbers that are coming out from human rights organizations. What will happen to those numbers when the internet actually turns back on and they can see how many people were arrested, injured, or arrested? A big call to action from the Iranian diaspora for a responsibility to protect. Why do people need to keep their eyes on what's happening in Iran? How is it going to affect people right here in the United States?
Well, people need to, because this is the number, no matter if it's 43,000, they say it's unconfirmed. I think it's going to be much more when it does get confirmed. But even if it's 5,000, 10,000, and it doesn't end here. Like you said, the government themselves, they confirmed that they have not stopped the executions, and they will not. They're going to be killing everybody who's arrested or keeping them in prison for a very long time. And there's so many people who lost eyes. I think there's over 300,000 now that they were saying they've been injured. So I think it's very important for us to be the voice of the voiceless. And I think overall the region, and it'll be better for America as well, because the region's not safe. They're constantly using the money that the country makes to fund militias and fund terrorism. And I think the Middle East in general is going to be a much safer region with this regime gone.
Yeah, and many would argue the entire world. Erfan, we appreciate
Mhm.
your time. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.